Hi everyone, good morning to all. Welcome to UN Digital Class. Today we are going to discuss a new part relating to Indian Partnership Act, which is a registration of partnership, and the next part, that is rights and duties of the partner. So now we are going to discuss what is the registration of partnership or how that partnership firm is registered. Partnership Act prescribes no mode of forming a partnership. It is formed through a contractual relation between two or more persons, mutual trust and good faith. The Act does not require the agreement to be in writing. In the absence of such an agreement, the rights and duties of the partner are determined by the Partnership Act 1932. So in Partnership Act, there is no prescribed mode of forming a partnership, or it is not compulsory for every partnership firm to be registered under Partnership Act 1932. The Act is silent relating to forming of partnership. It is formed only through a contractual relation between two or more persons having good trust or mutual trust, confidence and good faith with each other. And there is no such compulsory that partnership firm is registered by a written agreement among all the partner. But in the absence of any such agreement, the rights and duties of the partner are prescribed or determined as per the Partnership Act 1932. Now we are going to discuss how a partnership firm is registration. What is the procedure for registration of partnership firm? Registration of partnership firm is not compulsory under law. The Act provides that if the partners so desire, they may register the firm with the Register of Firms of the state in which the principal office of the firm is situated. The application for registration must be made in the prescribed form, and that must contain some of the particulars. So in Partnership Act, there is no prescribed mode of a registration of a partnership firm. The Act is silent relating to registration among the partners or registration of a partnership firm. And if the partners are going to start the partnership firm and they want to register under the Partnership Act or under the law, then they must have to go through proper procedure and they must have to be fill up in the prescribed form which is mentioned as per the Partnership Act 1932. And the application of a register must be sent to the registrar of the partnership firm in which the principal office of the firm is situated. So now we are going to discuss what the form contains and how the firm is registered, or what is the detailed procedure relating to registration of partnership firm. So first, the partnership firm fill up an application form, and that form contains some of the details. The first one is name of the firm. That means in which name the partnership firm is registered. That must have been mentioned in the prescribed form. Second one is principal place of the business, where their business or the place of principal business which is situated, that must have been mentioned in the form. Other places of firm's business, if partnership firm having several business or several places their business is situated, in that case the other places where their firm is situated, the name and address of the detailed particulars relating to that place must have been mentioned in the form. Name and address of the partners, those are the partners, they enter into the partnership firm, their name, their address, qualification, everything must have been mentioned. Date of joining by each partner, in which date every partner is joined, their particulars also mentioned. Duration of the partnership firm, if any, if the partnership firm is registered and it is continued for a specified period, so the time duration, if that is mentioned, that must have been prescribed in the application form. Signing of application form and verification by each partner. This is very important. After all the partners, they have give their signature, that in the application form the verification must be made by each partner whether they have been submitted that signature or not, or mentioned in the detailed place or not, that must have been verified. Submission of the form along with the registration fee to the registrar. After completion of everything, then the form, the prescribed form must have been submitted to the registrar of partnership firm along with the prescribed registration fees. Then scrutiny by the registrar, verifying that all legal formalities have been complied with. After sending the form to the registrar, then the registrar, by getting that, scrutinize the form of the partnership firm and must verify that all the legal formalities that have been complied or that have been fulfilled or not by the particular firm. Then entry in the register of the firm. If the registrar satisfies by scrutinizing that all the detailed particulars which have been mentioned, that is true and fair, and that goes with the legal procedure, then the registrar enter the firm, the registrar enter the firm in the register books, and the firm will be registered and continue its activities. Then issue of certificate of registration by the registrar. After the firm is registered, then the registrar issue a certificate of registration to the particular partnership firm. Then after obtaining that certificate of registration, then the partnership firm will continue, or the firm or the partners belongs to that particular firm, they will continue their activities. Any change in the information submitted at the time of registration should be conveyed to the registrar. If there is any change, or the partners think that there is some particulars relating to their business that is going to change, or they want to change that, then they must have been conveyed that information or anything else to the registrar. Then the registrar will change or update that particulars. Then the next is consequences of non-registration. That means the act is silent relating to the registration of partnership firm. So if a partnership firm is not registered, then it is not mandatory that they must have to be registered. So if the firm is not registered, so what is the impact? What is the consequences of non-registration? That we will discuss. So if the firm is not registered, then there is certain limitation. The first one is cannot enforce claim against a third party. So if a partnership firm is not registered, so any of the partner or the firm is not going to claim any liabilities against the third parties if that is there. So as that is not registered, so they cannot go through the legal procedure. They cannot complain to the registrar, or they cannot go to the court of the law, because their firm is not registered as per the law. So they have no rights to claim whatever liabilities that is made against the third party. Then cannot file suit against any of the partners. The partnership firm also cannot file case against any of the partners if any partner leave the organization, or if partner makes any fraud or whatever fraudulent activities or misconduct relating to the business. Then in that case, the firm cannot file a case against the partners, because the firm is not registered. Then partners cannot file suit against the firm. Also the partners, they cannot also file a case against the firm name, because the firm is not registered, having no separate legal identity and existence. It is just managed by the rights and the duties of every partner. Then a partner cannot file a case against other partner. Similarly, if any partner makes any misconduct or fraudulent activities, then those are the active partner, they are doing their business lawfully or legally procedure. They cannot also have the right to file a case against another partner, those are doing any type of misconduct activities. So that was some of the limitation if the firm having not registration, or the consequences of non-registration. Then following rights shall remain in force. If the firm is not registered, there are certain limitations, but the certain rights that must have been remain active or remain in force. Sue for dissolution of the firm, or for accounts of a dissolved firm, or power to realize property of a dissolved firm. So that means if the firm is going to dissolve, or the partners they think that we are going to dissolve our partnership firm or going to close the firm, then they must have to be applied, and the firm must be dissolved with the relating to whatever accounts relating to the business or property, if anything else, that must have been shared among the partners. The partners have the rights to apply for dissolution, they can have the rights to take back the accounts relating the money, and they have the power to realize the property of a dissolved firm. Then the power of an official assigned to realize the property of an insolvent partner. So if any of the partner is going to declare as insolvent, in that case the power must be assigned to the official assigned, and they have the power to realize whatever property of an insolvent partner, and that property is realized or that is recovered from the insolvent partner. Then the right of a third party to sue the firm or its partner. So the third party has also the rights. They can sue the firm or they can also sue the partners. If the partnership firm is going to dissolve, then in that case every third party, they have the rights to sue against the firm or against the partners. Next part, that is the rights of the partners. Being a partner, what is the right relating to the partnership business? The first one is right to participate in business. Each partner has an equal right to take part in the conduct of their business. Partners can curtail this right to allow only some of them to contribute the functioning of the business if the partnership deed states so. So a right to participate means every partner, being a partner in the partnership firm, they must have the rights to participate the day-to-day conduct of the business. They have the rights to check, inspect everything relating to the partnership business. They have also have the rights to power their exercise against the other partner, and they can function the activities of the partnership business smoothly and efficiently. This is known as right to participation. The second right to express opinion. Another one of the rights of a partner is their right to freely express their opinion. Every partner has the right to give their express opinion, and that is freely, without any hesitation. Partners by a majority can determine differences with respect to ordinary matters connected with the business. If the activities or the matters relate to the business that is ordinary, then they can make decision, and a majority decision must be granted. Each partner can express his opinion to decide such matters. So whatever may be, whether it is ordinary or extraordinary, the matters or the opinions relating to that can be decided by all the partners, and a majority decision should be granted or taken into consideration, and that must have been implemented. Then right to access books and accounts. Each partner can inspect and copy books of accounts of the business. This right is applicable equally to active as well as dormant partner. So every partner has the rights relating to the financial matter of the partnership firm. That means they have the right to inspect the books, they have the rights to inspect the accounts relating to day-to-day activities or running expenses of the partnership business. And all partners have equal rights, whether may be the active partner or may be the dormant partner. Being the partner, they have the right to inspect everything relating to the accounts or books of the partnership firm. Then right to share profits. Partners generally describe in their deed the proportion in which they will share the profits of the firm. However, they have to share all the profits of the firm equally if they have not agreed on a fixed profit sharing ratio. So generally we have already discussed relating to the partnership deed that one information, that profit sharing ratio, that means being all the partners are actively connected with the business, so they must have contributed their capital relating to the conduct of the business, so they must have the rights to share the profits whatever earned by the business. So the profit sharing ratio must be mentioned in the partnership deed, and accordingly after the profit is obtained during a particular financial year, that must have been distributed among all the partners as per the profit sharing ratio. But if that act is silent, but the deed is silent, or there is no profit sharing ratio, then in that case all the partners have equal right. They take the profits equally whatever earned by the business during a particular financial year. Next one is right to use partnership property. The property of the firm is the property of all the partners, and therefore it can be held and used only for the common benefit of all the partners. That is very important, benefit of all the partners. That means partners, being they are the members to the partnership firm, they have rights to use the property of the business or property of the partnership firm. Every partner have equal rights to use the property of the partnership firm, but they use that property only for the benefit of the firm, not for their personal benefit or partners' personal benefit. Partners can use the property for the benefit of a partnership firm. That is very important. They cannot utilize the property for their own benefit or their personal benefit. Point number 6, right to interest on capital and advance. Partners generally do not get an interest on the capital they contribute. In case they decide to take an interest, such payment must be made only out of profits. They can, however, receive interest of 6% per annum for other advances made subsequently towards the business. So relating to interest on capital or interest on advance, these are the two parts. One is interest, that is on capital contribution. Second one is interest on advance or the loan taken by the partner. So there is no such agreement relating to, or there is no such rules and regulation relating to interest on capital. But if the partners want to take interest out of the capital which they have contributed to the business, in that case the profit which is generated during the particular financial year, out of the profit certain portion of interest must be distributed to all the partners and they have to be decided among them. But in case any loan or advances taken by the partners as per the agreement, or generally 6% rate of interest per year must be charged on the loan or advances taken by the partners from the partnership business. Then the next one is right to indemnity. Every partner is an agent of the firm and as such is entitled to be indemnified by the firm in respect of a payment made and liabilities incurred by him in the ordinary and proper conduct of the business of the firm. So right to indemnity, that must have been taken into consideration. Being every partner is an agent of the partnership business, in that case whatever liabilities or expenses they are incurred for their own benefit or for their personal benefit, in that case they must have to reimburse that amount of expenses to the partnership firm. That is known as right to indemnity. Next, no new partner to be introduced. The contract of partnership being based upon personal confidence, it follows that no new partner can be introduced into the firm without the consent of all the partners. So without the consent of all the partners, no new partner admitted into the partnership business. That must have been taken into personal confidence, and if all the partners they think that this is the new partner is proper and suitable for their partnership business, then with the consent of all the partners they take into the new partners to their business or admitted to the partnership business. Otherwise no new partner can be introduced without the consent of all the partners. Then no liability before joining. A partner does not become liable for any of the liabilities of the firm contracted before he joined the firm. This is most important. Before joining to the partnership business, no partner having any such of a liability. If any partner having any liability before joining to the partnership business, in that case they are not liable to enter into the partnership business, or they cannot taken as a partner or considered as a partner to the partnership business. So before joining their liability must be nil, or there is no such liability against any of the partner. Then right to retire. Every partner has the right to retire from the partnership firm, that is with the consent of all other partner. If any one partner wants to retire from the partnership business, then with the consent of all other partners, the partner can retire at any time, and in accordance with an express agreement among the partners. So partner can retire by following an express agreement, and that agreement must be made with the partners. Then where the partnership is at will, by giving a notice in writing to all other partners of his intention to retire. So if partnership business is formed under partnership at will, in that case the partner though wants to retire from the business, then by giving a proper notice in writing to all other partners of his intention that he is going to retire from the business, then after providing the notice to other partners, then the partner can retire from the partnership business. These are the three grounds the partner can retire from the partnership firm. The next part relating to duties of the partner. So being a partner, what are the duties and obligations relating to the partnership business or partnership firm, that we can discuss. General duties. Every partner has the following general duties, like carrying on the business to the greatest common good, duty to be just and faithful towards each other, rendering true accounts, and providing full information of all things affecting the firm. So being a partner, every partner having some rights, and every partner's duty and obligation is there. So they must have to carry the business to the greatest common advantages among all. That means the partner have the duty to carry on the business with greatest common good, and a duty to be just and faithful to each other, rendering true accounts to the partnership firm and providing all such information those affect to the partnership firm without any hesitation. No new things that can be kept secret by the partners. So duty to indemnify for fraud. Every partner has to indemnify the firm for losses caused to it by his fraud in the conduct of the business. So if any partner makes any type of loss to the business by way of his misconduct activity or by way of his fraud, in that case whatever losses that arises to the business or the business has suffered or the firm has suffered, in that case the partner duty to indemnify that amount of a loss. The Act has adopted this principle because the firm is liable for wrongful acts of the partners. So as per the Partnership Act, the law or the act that must have been mentioned that, and that must have been applied this principle, because every partner is liable for any type of wrongful acts that has been made by the partners to the partnership business. Any partner who commits fraud must indemnify other partners for his account. So there is no excuse. If any partner makes any type of fraud or misconduct the business activity, then that partner must liable to compensate all the amount of loss to the other partners. Duty to act diligently. Every partner must attend to his duty towards the firm as diligently as possible. That means the partner being a partner, so they must have duty to carry on the business with utmost care and a faith to each other. That is known as diligently, and that as much as possible, because he is not functioning diligently affects other partners as well. So being a partner, whatever duties that has been assigned to the partner, particular partner, he or she has been conducted with the utmost good faith, and that must not be affect to other partners. He is liable to indemnify others if his willful neglect causes losses to the firm. If any partner makes any type of negligence, so due to his negligence, he must liable to the other partners and must indemnify or compensate the total amount of loss by way of his negligence activities. Then duty to use the firm's property properly. Partner can use the firm's property exclusively for its business, not for any personal purpose. That has been already described, that being a partner can have the right to use the property, but that can be used only for the benefit of the partnership firm, not for his personal purpose. That is another duty the partner must take into consideration, because they all own it collectively, because that property relating to all the partner, not a single partner. So no single partner cannot use the property for his own single purpose or for his personal benefit. Hence, they must be careful while using the property. So at the time of using the property, the partner must be careful for using that. Duty to not your personal profit or to compete. Each partner must function according to commonly shared goals. They should not make any personal profit and must not engage in any competing business venture. So no partner having no such duty to take the secret profit whatever earned for the partnership business, and they cannot take only the one partner, because as the partners belongs to all, that means two or more than two persons, they are jointly together to form that partnership business. So whatever profits they earn, they must have to be shared among all as per the profit sharing ratio or equally. So they cannot take it for their personal benefit. They must not engage any other ventures at the time of providing service to a particular partnership firm. They should hand over personal profit made to their firm. So whatever profits that has been earned or whatever benefits that has been arises by a particular partner, so that must have been submitted or handed over to the partnership firm, because that is collectively relationship among all the partners. So no single partner can take the benefit from the partnership business. Whatever profits earned, that must have been handed over. Then to provide full information, partners owe a duty to their co-partners to give full information of all things affecting to the firm. That means whatever information obtained by a partner have the duty to provide that full information to other co-partner. Duty to render full information extend to all kind of a transaction. So information relating to all type of a business transaction or firm's transaction, that must have been provided by a partner to all other partners. to render true accounts. Partners are bound to render true accounts to each other. Rendering of account means explaining the accounts, giving full information about them and producing voucher in support of the entries. So whatever transactions or any type of a business activities has been made by a partner, partner must have been provided relating to that accounts information to the firm. So rendering of accounts means information or detailed transaction with supporting vouchers that must have been submitted by every partner, or partner having the duty to provide all type of a business transaction information with supporting transaction at any time to the partnership firm. Then the last one is not to assign his rights. Since the relation between the partners is of mutual trust and confidence, partner cannot without consent of other partners assign his share of rights in the firm to a third party and force him on the other partners. So as partnership business is the contractual relation between all the partners and having a mutual trust, confidence and faith to each other, so no partner cannot share his rights to other partners without the consent of the business or to the third party. Also not assign his rights or not to disclose any type of a secret information to the outsider without the consent of other partners. So the partner must have to keep that with secret. What is the effect of rights and duty after change in the firm? The nature of the existing relationship partners will be affected whenever there is any change in the firm's constitution. So if any change is made in the partnership firm constitution, so in that case the existing relationship must be affected, and such change occur in the following situation. First one is change in constitution of the firm due to incoming outgoing partners. So if any incoming partner is there or outgoing partner is there, in that case there must be change in constitution. Incoming new partner is admitted, existing partner is separated. So when any incoming or outgoing is there, in that case there must be change in the constitution. Next, expiry of the predetermined term of the firm. If the firm is predetermined with certain objectives, so when that is expired, in that case the constitution must be changed. Carrying out additional business undertaking than originally agreed upon. What agreed to carry on the business, if they have to change that with the additional new business undertaking, in that case also constitution of the firm must be changed. Mutual rights and duties of the partners will continue to be the same, but whatever the rights and the duties of all the partners, that must have been continued as they existed prior to such changes, but partner can change this by making a fresh partnership deed. But if any change is there relating to incoming or outgoing or expiry of a predetermined objectives or carrying on any additional business, so in that case the partners can change by making a fresh partnership deed. This is relating to the rights, duties and registration of partnership firm. Next we will discuss what is the mode of dissolution or what is dissolution of a partnership firm. That will be discussed in our next class. Thank you. Good day to all of you.